Good morning. Welcome to another live feed on our Shopman's YouTube channel. Let's get into this continuation of this book I've been reading for a while. The greatest game ever played on June 4th, 1976, which is next month, marked the 50th anniversary of this, what was called the greatest game ever played. Game 5, Boston Celtics versus the Phoenix Suns. So I'll resume with chapter 7. Please like to subscribe to the channel. When you get a chance, tune into this video. Subscribe, hit the like button, support. All right, let's get into it. Blowout, chapter 7. Many other Boston fans in attendance at Game 5 of the 1976 finals have been inducted to the NBA Hall of Fame. But the contest was on a Friday night. It didn't start until after 9 p.m. So there were 4 to 5 hours of drinking time for fans from the time their work weeks ended to the start of the game. On top of that, the fans were none too happy about the officiating in Games 3 and 4 and negative comments about the Celtics made by Rick Barry, who was working with Brent Musburger on the CBS telecast. You don't do that. And so Boston Garden was now in full venom with Rick Barry and with the referee said sportscaster Al Trapway on Classic Sports Network. We had a lot of drunks behind the bench, said Al Bianchi. They were getting a little rowdy. I had to keep some of our players from going after them, after them. Moreover, the Boston Garden the Boston Garden, said Walt Frazier on the same program, Classic Sports Network. First of all, the Garden was the most intimidating arena in the league. The parquet floor, the hollow walls, the rafters are doing with all their championship bands, so you're already intimidated going in there. Now, a very hostile crowd like that, so you wouldn't give the Suns much of an opportunity to win that game. The dead spots on the floor were the main thing about it. I remember once I went behind my back in his playing days, and I still don't know where the ball is. To make matters worse for the Suns, they had lost 12 straight games in Boston Dane all the way back to the 1971-72 season. And the Celtics raced to a 13-3 lead. The last points of which came on a jumper by John Havlicek back in the starting lineup. John McLeod called his second timeout. When the Suns got down early in that first quarter, said Al McCoy, he thought, I don't know what's going to happen. Things only got worse for Phoenix. Garhurst stepped out of bounds to give the ball back to Walston, and Paul Sides hit a straightaway jumper from behind the free throw line to make it 15-3. After Alvin Adams switched the jumper from the left side, Havlicek switched one from the right side. Then after a turnover by Ricky Sobers, Havlicek laid one in off a long pass from Sides was fouled by Adams, converted the free throw to make the score 20-5. The score 20-10, Sobers and Hurd both missed shots and the ball was volleyballed to J.J. White, who dribbled up the court on the right baseline, flipped the behind the back pass to Havlicek, who switched a lower rainbow jumper on the right baseline in his face that made the score 26-10 after a missed jumper by Dick Van Arsdale. Dave Cowens nailed a jumper from behind the free throw line to increase the Boston lead to 18 points. Timeout Suns. Very unusual to see a coach call 3 timeouts in the first period. Commented Minnie Rudolph on CBS telecast. Thanks for the 12 people that are tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. White hit a wide open bank shot that made the score 34-14. I remember how fast the Celtics came out. We called Sobers in the 2001 Boston Globe story. Before we could even blink, we were down 20. Boston was killing us. McLeod said the same word. I said, are they ever going to slow down? We were really willing, McLeod said. After Jim Ord hit a wide open jumper from the right side, right baseline, as the first quarter ended, the Celtics were in command 36-18. Sobers opened the second quarter. Scoring by switching the jump shot from the right baseline. The home team came right back. However, White drove for an open layup. After a missed jumper by Westfall, Steve Kaberski rebounded, missed the shot by Ord, and banked it in for a 40-20 Boston advantage. We couldn't stop them from running, so I decided to try Phil's Lumpkin, McLeod told the Globe. He was a pounder, a guy who dribbled a lot. I hope he could slow the game down. In the same article, Lumpkin said we had to just slow it down to a half-court game. Run over sets and get people to touches where they can be effective with the ball. Plan failed. Counts later in the bank shot off a double pump pass from Charlie Scott to up the Celtics lead to 42-20. At this point, had anyone even hinted that this basketball game, would turn to be the greatest game ever played, they would have been sent to a psychiatrist. Boston was simply dominating, outclassing the young Suns. The visitors finally showed some life. When Dennis Autry hit a jumper, Curtis Perry laid one in. Hurd hit one of his patented high arching jumpers. Westfall laid one in to pull within 42-28. After Cowens hit one of two free throws, Westfall made a reverse layup off a pretty pass from Adams. Then Adams switched a jumper from the left side to make the score 43-32. 6:57 remaining in the first half. A few minutes later, the Suns pulled to within 46-39. Win. Thanks for hitting the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. After the turnover by Silas, Hurd went in for an easy dunk. Yeah, subscribe to the channel. Thanks for the 19 tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Celtics then went on an 8-2 run, though. That was capped by 2 Havlicek free throws. Boston was now up by 13 points at 54-41. Thanks, 25 people tuning in. Make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe to the channel. By halftime, the Celtics expanded their lead to 61-45. The first 15 or so minutes of the game was without question the best basketball the Celtics played in the entire playoffs. Period, said Bob Ryan. It looked like it was going to be a knockout blow, particularly because it was at home. We just didn't play well in that first half, said Bianchi. So I'm going to go to chapter 8, back in it. People always ask me, said Alvin Adams, what did the coach say to you at halftime? Right, 2 people liking it. Thank you. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We were so tuned in, as were the Celtics. I think it's mostly up to the players at that time. But we had 8 months of preparation behind us by great coaches who had us prepared every play. And as they always say in the playoffs, we know the opponents every play. We know which way Havlicek likes to go. That Cowens is going to charge in and dive and all that. Thanks for 3 people liking the channel, liking the content right now. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. We didn't put a new play in at halftime. We didn't change a lot of stuff. I don't remember any major personnel changes. It was just, hey, we have to respond. We're 2-2. We're the Suns. We're in the finals. Let's respond. We really felt that we were out of the game, said Gallagher. That was the mentality of our team during the second half of the season. We played so bad the first half in Game 5, and they played great. So we just said we have to go out and play our game. Just get control of the game, control the tempo, and just chip away at their lead. And that's exactly what Phoenix did. The Suns knew they could not afford to allow Boston to come out fast in the third quarter and go up by 20 points. They immediately cut the Celtics lead to 61-50 on a 3-point play by Curtis Perry and a layup by Ricky Sobers. When JoJo White hit a technical free throw about halfway through the third quarter to give Boston a 68-57 lead, it was the last time the Celtics would enjoy a double-digit advantage. A 3-point play while Celtics with 5:19 left in the quarter cut the Boston lead to 68-64. An uncontested dunk by Sobers made it a 2-point game, and then following a Boston timeout, Adams made 2 free throws to tie the game score 68-68 with less than 4 minutes to go in the third. It was the first time all night that Celtics did not have the lead. From that point on, it was anyone's game. It was crazy how they came back, said Steve Kubersky. According to Ed Cersei at halftime, White said these are going to come back. Cersei said that he was thinking that the Suns were up by 16 points. That sure enough, the Suns did come back. Phoenix never went away, Bob Ryan said. I think we just firmed up. This Autry said. It's tough to keep a big lead sometimes. You're at 20, you're shooting the blank out of the ball, everything's going good for you, but then you get a little overconfident and losing team starts chipping away. You can come back on that sort of thing, said John Wetzel. I think the nature of our team with Dick Van Arsdale, Paul Westphal, Alvin, and those guys, there was a mindset that just kept playing. There was no panic, there was no giving in or giving up. They just kept playing. We just kept plugging away, making shots. We figured it's a long game, and with all the stoppages in play, the timeouts and the free throws, they had a lot of time to get back in the game. I probably didn't think the Suns could come back and make a game of it. Al McCoy added, they surprised everybody. The other 2 on this ball club started late in the season was that they were always in the game. Noticeably, they maintained that attitude that they were going to be out of the game. They were able to get turned around. But at halftime, we made defensive adjustments, said Perry. We got Boston to slow it down. And we ran. And we controlled the balls better in the second half. And we started making shots. You can't just discount that we shot so poorly that first half when the shots are falling and you're playing defense and rebounding. We stayed in the game. We never, not once, felt like we were going to lose that game. I think we came back because we had heart, said Adams. But now that the Suns had to recover to even the score, they need to maintain their edge and carry that momentum forward. But Boston broke the deadlock, took a 70-68 lead, with Kaversky sank and was jumping from the left baseline. A few months later, Collins hit a half hook shot to make the score 72-68. By the end of the third quarter, the Celtics led 77-72. To start the fourth quarter, Collins hit a turnaround jumper over Autry to extend the Boston lead to 7. Nate Hawthorne rebounded a Westfall miss and scored to make a 79-74. A pair of free throws by Cowens, a layup by Charlie Scott, pushed the lead to 83-74. With 9:13 remaining, Suns pulled to within 5 points. But a few moments later, a jumper by White with a hand in his face gave the Celtics an 86-79 lead. Perry hit his own miss and banked it in to make it 86-81. White hit a wide open jumper from the left. Then Cowan switched to hook shot from the lane to make it 90-81. Adams sank a wide open jumper from the left baseline to make the score 90-83. And then Havlicek hit a jumper from the right baseline for a 92-83 Boston advantage. Westfall switched a turnaround rainbow jumper from the right baseline, then hit an open jumper from the right to pull Phoenix within 92-87 with 2:58 remaining. After the Celtics timeout, 3 possession changes. The Suns cut the deficit to 92-89 with 1:54 to go when Sobers switched the open jumper from the lane. A solid tip-in off a miss by White gave Boston a 94-89 lead with 1:03 to go. Then the Suns cut it to 94-91 with 52 seconds to go on a turnaround bank shot from the right by Westfall. But while Scott brought the ball up to the court, Westfall reached in and poked it away to Adams, who fired it back up the court to Westfall, drove for a layup, and was fouled by Scott. He connected on the free throw to tie their score at 94 with 39 seconds left. So even more important was that the fact that Scott had fouled out of the game. On the Boston timeout, Don Nelson bought it from half court. A few places later, Scott missed from way beyond the top of the key. Cowens put back attempt missed. He fouled Perry by pushing off as he went for the rebound. With the Celtics over the foul limit, Perry got 2 free throws. He made the first but missed badly on the second as the ball clanged off the front of the rim. Phoenix had its very first lead of the game at 94-95 with 22 seconds to go. Advanced Arsdale guarding him. Havlicek missed a turnaround jumper from the right baseline, but was fouled by Adams, who reached in. Presley fouled out. Hondo made the first free throw, but missed the second one. The score was 95-95 with 19 seconds to go. Havlicek missed the free throw, was bad by the Suns back out himself. He passed to White. So ball right back to Havlicek. He dribbled to the right, then threw the ball into Cowens, who passed it back out to Havlicek. Mr. Jones from the right with Westfall in his face. Then the rebound went to Westfall with 3 seconds to go. Westfall called timeout. The Suns argued that he had called time, 4 seconds left. But he had called time with 5 seconds left. It was to no avail. The officials let the 3 ticks on the clock with Jim Orr guarding him. Hurd inbounded the ball, but Clown was intercepted it. Salas called timeout with 1 second left before the clock ran out. There was a problem though. The Celtics had no timeouts left. The rule stated that if a team called a timeout even though it had none remaining, it's a technical foul. The other team received a free throw. Referee Richard Powell was directly facing Salas when he called the timeout. Powell did not call a technical foul. There was seconds on the clock. The Suns should have received a technical foul shot. Westfall likely would have shot it to try to win the game. The Phoenix never got the chance because Powell failed to acknowledge Salas' obvious and blatant call for a timeout. Salas admitted in the globe it was not a smart play on my part. Richie was looking right at him and chose not to call it, said Westfall. Thought Phoenix got screwed, said Rick Barry. Richard Powell said, I chose to ignore his request. Like what he said. Blank was that. That's your job. It would have been a technical foul. Paul Westfall probably would have gone to the line, made the free throw, and that would have been the end of the game. It was horrendous. I felt badly for Phoenix because they got hosed. That was ridiculous. Said John McLeod in the globe, but he didn't want Dawson to lose. Westfall would have made the technical foul shot. We would have won. We would have won game 6. I'm still angry. How many chances do you get to win a championship? We very easily could have won it right there, Autry said. Frankly, though, it didn't bother me particularly, which he should have called the timeout, but things happened. The only thing that bothered me later was that I heard three different excuses for why Richie didn't call a technical foul. If he would have said, I'm not going to make the call that might cost him the championship, I can understand that a little bit. But if you start hemming and hawing about why you didn't do it, that really bothers me. Looking back on it, it was a setting, and at that point, you just play. Richie Powers may have taken an early NBA championship away from the Phoenix Suns. Al McCoy said. Otherwise, he said he didn't want to see an NBA championship side by a call like that. Well, I didn't know that referees were there to make the rules. I thought they were there to. That was as close as ever I came to win the championship, said Gonzalez-Dale in the Globe. Would have been happy to win that way or would have taken that. About 2 weeks later, said Jerry Colangelo in the same article, local Phoenix golf pro named Joe Porter was playing in the Westchester Classic, now the Northern Trust in the New York area. He saw Richie Powers at the bar. So why he didn't call that timeout? He said that Richie said, I didn't want Boston to lose like that. If you ask me 25 years later, do I think he meant I don't want anyone to lose like that or Boston to lose like that? I'll say the latter. Added, Wessel is one of those things that we as players and coaches have no control over. It was wrong. It was one of those things that has been stuck in our craw for 45 years. Richie Powers saw it, but he ignored Silas. It was an unbelievable. Kuberski said, you really hate to think that somebody will do that on purpose is pretty pathetic. It's very sad, said Keith Erickson, who suffered a high ankle sprain early in the first quarter and spent the rest of the game in a locker room. Alternate referee Bob Rekel took a different and predictable stance. That is good refereeing, he told the Globe. You don't want to end a contest like that under those circumstances. Now, if Silas had kept coming to Powers, that might be different, said Al Bianchi. After all my years with Syracuse, then Philadelphia, getting blank beat up in Boston, it was like, when the blank are we going to get rid of these demons in Boston Garden? When we went to Philadelphia next season, I know a jeweler there, and I told him I need a ring that says 1975-76 Phoenix Suns NBA champions on the inside. I told him to put an interest that says blank. You powers are still with a ring to this day. Angelo was sitting at midcourt. I was at the two benches when the whole thing went down. It was 90 plus degrees in the building. It was near midnight and the intensity was over the top, he said. Could have been, would have been, should have been. That's yesterday's news. Harry had a relatively healthy outlook of the situation. Even though it was obvious Richie Powers didn't nod the timeout call by size. We can't. The referees did this, the referees did that. The game was going into overtime. That was what we had to deal with. We couldn't sit there and whine about what could have been, or if this, or maybe that. You got to stay in the moment. Let's get them in overtime. Let's go to chapter 9. Probably be my last chapter before I close out this feed. Thanks for people that are tuning in. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, like the content. The Suns were a confident bunch. We actually felt like we could beat Boston in the first overtime, especially once we came from 20 points down. Actually, 22 down. Cigar had awesome innings. Even though there was no television in the Phoenix locker room, the injured Keith Erickson could tell what was going on out on the court. Early in the fourth quarter, Celtics ball boys brought in opponents to put away, he said in the Globe. They were smiling loud because they thought the Celtics were in control. At the start of overtime, they came in to get them again. They were very somber. It was interesting being in that room. The garden was like an old tin can. I could feel the ebb and flow of the game. It was like waves breaking out on top of you when you're underwater. We called Joe Prosky, the Suns trainer, in the same article. Fans are yelling at Bianchi. He's yelling back. The huddle guy, we growing up a playing fan was saying that's not going to work. Boston got things started in overtime when both sides tipped in a missed jumper by Don Nelson. A few minutes later, Dave Cowan's jumper from the top of the circle gave the Celtics a 99-95 lead. Then Phoenix Suns cut it deficit to 2 points with 2:10 to go when Hurd hit a high arcing jumper from the lane. Georgia White switched a long open jumper from the left baseline to give the home team a 101-97 advantage. Then Curtis Perry banked in a beautiful turnaround jumper with Nelson guarding him to make it 101-99. A few moments later, Hurd connected that from the left baseline when John Havlicek guarded him to tie the game at 101 with 45 seconds remaining. Those were last points of the first extra period. Overtime 2 was next. White got things started in the second overtime when he switched the jumper from the left baseline to put Boston up 103, 101. Thanks for the fourth person that's liking this video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Following the Celtics turnover, Ricky Sobers drove for an uncontested layup to even the score. White hit a wide open jumper from the right, but Sobers responded by knocking down a fadeaway jumper from the right baseline, in which he was fouled by Nelson. He made the free throw. As Phoenix forwards ahead, 106-105, Cowens missed a short bank shot from the lane, but was fouled by Dennis Autry, causing fury across the Suns bench. Cowens converted both free throws as Boston retook the lead 107-106 after two possession exchanges. The visitors called a timeout with 133 to left. So was missed a long jumper. Then Cowens, despite being a triple team, sank the jumper from the right baseline, was called for an offensive foul. Bumping Autry, fouling out with 1 minute to go. Hurd missed a jumper from the free throw line while positioning from the rebound. Autry fouled Havlicek, fouled out himself with 38 ticks on the clock. He was visibly upset at the call. As I was going up for the rebound, Paul Sides pushed me about 4 feet in the air. I landed on somebody else, he said. With Alvin having already fouled out earlier, we didn't have anybody else who knew how to play center really. Curtis moved in to play the center position. On Boston's next possession, White, the scribe, dribbled to the right. Right. And his right hand threw the ball up over Hurd's outstretched right arm, banked it in. Suns' lead was now 109-106, with 19 seconds remaining. This is where the real fireworks began. After a timeout for Phoenix, Hurd inbounded the ball to Dick Van Arsdale, who drove to the left, switched the jumper from the left baseline, pulling the Suns within 1 point at 109-108 with 15 seconds to go. Jim Orr tried to inbound the ball to Havlicek, but Paul Westside came out of nowhere to knock it away and saved it from going out of bounds while falling out of bounds, passing the ball to Arsdale. Van Arsdale quickly threw it to Perry, missed a wide open jumper from the left. Havlicek got his left hand on the ball while trying for the right rebound, but instead knocked it back to Perry, who with Havlicek guarding pump fake and then switched the jumper from the left baseline. Probably Phoenix now had the lead, 110-109, with 5 seconds to go. When I saw the ball come off the backboard, it bounced off pretty far, said Perry. When Havlicek tipped it, I just grabbed it. I was tuned in, knew how much was on the clock. So I had the time to give him a little fake just in case he wanted to foul me. And I shot the ball, and I had no doubt that it was going in. The pump fake, for some reason, enabled me to get my rhythm. The shot was easy, Perry said in the globe. Steve Kapersky, according to him, said Curtis wasn't even a good outside shooter. Boston called timeout. The tension in the garden could be cut with a knife. The Phoenix huddle. John McLeod told his players not to foul anybody who was shooting the ball. Nelson inbounded the ball to Havlicek, drove to the left, banked in a running jumper, and extremely difficult shot. As the Celtics forced back ahead, 111-110. I said to myself, I'm going to split the gap. I flailed my arm, elbows, hope they foul me. Havlicek recalled in the globe. While I'm sure McLeod was telling them not to foul. Because Sobers picked back off, the gap actually got bigger. The guy we were most concerned about was Havlicek. We wanted to have help, not be a son of gun if he didn't break loose. McLeod said in Austin innings, the shot Havlicek made was exactly the shot John McLeod said in the huddle that they were going to take. Bianchi said they're going to give it to Havlicek. Chase him left and make sure he doesn't go to the right. I'll be a blank. Players did exactly what they were supposed to do, and he made an unbelievable shot that great players do. When Havlicek left his feet, everybody backed off, put it off the board. I don't know if his feet came down or not. That was a blank of a shot, Perry told the Globe. In that same article, Bianca said he almost shattered the glass. He was not afraid to make a move in the clutch. Robert said in the NBA TV video, a lot of players, they don't want that last shot. Not John. Give it to me. He'll take it. He was a great scorer at the time, Hansen said in the same year. He was a winner in every sense of the word. All the pressure situations. A lot of Phoenix fans were all bearded up already. When they got to the game, they were just waiting to explode. And they did. That was John Wetzel. After Havlicek gave Boston that 1 point lead, the clock ran out and hundreds of crazed Celtics fans rushed the court to celebrate what they thought was a 1 point victory. I thought it was a very slow clock when Boston put the ball up and play. Drake Lane, remember, it seemed as though 5 seconds went by before the health check took the shot. They didn't have that much time. Like that, he made the shot, knew there was something left on the clock. Just didn't know that. What? Red had those guys trained. The timekeepers said, "That's all." Left the floor right away. We went into the dressing room thinking the game was over. Said Kabushi taught us to do that. Nelson said in the quote, "We were taught, don't wait or hang around. Make it hard on the officials. But the pressure on them. Put the pressure on them. It was a tactic that had worked before many times. We were cheering and excited and giving each other high fives because we thought we won," said Glenn McDowell. But while Richie Powers and Don Murphy, the other referees, were deciding if any time should be put back in the clock, Boston fans continued to take over the court, yelling and dancing and jumping around. It was a mess there for a couple of minutes, said Russell. "We were trying to get time put back on the clock before because clock Boston's timekeeper had a green thumb." Perry laughed. "It was announced that 1 second would be back put on the clock. It should have been at least 2 seconds to put back on." That's what said, but the refs did have enough courage to put some time back on the clock. And fans were so incensed that second was put back on the clock. He attacked Powers. It was bizarre, incredible, Bob Bryant. I've never seen anything like it before and haven't since. Who has? It was crazy. Security was nothing like it is now. Sons were very adamant that the security in Boston was horrible. It wasn't any protection, it was scary. I remember distinctly going back to the Kareem Hook in the rookie game in the 74 finals that the fans were massing around the court and around the scores table. Had the game ended with a Boston victory at the half check shot, they were coming, and they were coming over the top. I had to clutch my typewriter to protect it. That's the way it was for Game 5. That still is the single most amazing thing about that game to me, Hurt said in the Globe Saturday. A fan attacked the referee. The same article by Rako called the situation frightening. I was sitting there right in the middle of it, all of them at half court, and I was hoping that they wouldn't come after me. They didn't. I ended up out on the middle of the floor. But so remember that fan, Richie Powers, was duking it out. I grabbed that guy from behind to try to help Richie. I think the guy was swinging at him. I didn't want Richie to get up, beat up. It looked like it was out of a Laurel and Hardy movie. It was the only time I got off the bench that night. All of a sudden, said Archie, I think we got a couple of players in the middle of the scrum there. So I chased on through, pulling people out of the way to get to protect my teammates. I saw they had Richie, and I said, "Oh, screw it. Go ahead." Instead of going to protect Richie, I decided I was going to protect my teammates and not protect him. I wasn't nearly as concerned about him as I was about my own teammates. Curtis Perry got the guy off of Richie Powers' album called. He kept him from getting beat up. Later on, Curtis said he should have let him punch out Richie because of what happened at the end of this regulation. Curtis saved Powers' life because this guy was serious. Remember, strictly sobers in the quote. Said Perry in the same thought. If people keep asking me why did I save Richie Powers because I love him, it was because I sure liked the alternate. My broadcast position was off the floor a little bit, and a Boston fan passed out right into my lap while I was on the air. McCoy recalled, and I realized that this broadcast may be tougher than I thought. I was eventually able to get the ball guy off my lap. Those fans gave us a chance to regroup. Herb told the Globe. It had been before the game, wouldn't have had a chance to stop it. Think about it, but we all returned to talk things over. Word was sent to the Boston locker room that 1 second was put on the clock. All of a sudden, said, but out there was a spell when they came to the locker room and told us that we had to come back out to the court because the game wasn't over. Guys were taking tape off the ankles, this and that. Right, 5 people liking it. Thank you. Hit the like button. Make sure you subscribe to the channel because the game wasn't over. Guys were taking tape off their ankles and this and that. Conversely said we were called out to the court. A lot of guys didn't even bother to get them retaped, thinking there's only 1 second left. What are they going to do? We didn't think they had the guts to bring us back out, but they did. Nelson said in the Globe, it was pretty wild, said Kevin Staker. In the midst of all the mayhem going on out on the basketball court, the wheels were spinning in Paul Westfall's mind. Thinking man's play, he called a timeout even though Phoenix didn't have any left. He did this purpose as so attempt because I would be called on him. Although the Celtics got a 3-throw attempt, Suns would get the ball in midcourt instead of having to go to the entire length of the floor. Got that idea from watching a lot of USC football games. Westfall and the Globe. John McKay's team had a lot of comebacks. Remember him calling timeouts when they didn't have any. The penalty wasn't much. 5 yards something. The punishment didn't fit the crime. I figured my basketball might be the same way. I asked Richie what would happen if he called time. He said, "You don't have any." I said, "But what if I do call timeout?" He told me, so I said, "All right, timeout then." Take it to the official, talk to the official. I said, "My understand the rules that we'd be able to advance the ball to half court if we called it a legal timeout." He said, "Yeah." So I called it, then went over and told John what I did. He was good with it. He had fans coming over to him, so he couldn't really deal with the conversation I was having with the official at the time in order to call the timeout. Heads up called by Westfall to call the timeout and give us the technical free throw, Collins said, and also innings. How smart that was. They got to advance the ball, added Nelson at goal short. So Colangelo, thank goodness Paul, say Colangelo, thank goodness Paul Russell called that timeout and that he had the foresight of knowing that. Yes, it would be a technical, but more importantly, get the ball at half court. It was a brilliant decision. Having Paul Russell was like having another coach on the floor. McCoy said. It was almost impossible to have a timeout before because the fans were right there. There was no security in that building at all. Coach McLeod had to bring Huddle way out on the floor. Westfall figured it out, Westfall Ryan said. He went up to the table and asked him what happens if he calls time. You could see him on the video just gesturing and pointing to the clock and the table and the cloud. It was a very rare situation, said Adams. Paul, being the master gamesman he is, whether he's playing Monopoly or whatever, he had that in his back tricks. Paul always had a great offensive mind, said Van Acker, the gentleman who 17 days was lead the Suns to the NBA Finals and her season as their head coach. Because of Westfall's quick thinking, the Westfall rule was put in the next season, mentioning that a team must have to have a timeout left in order to advance the ball to midcourt at the basket by the other team. I didn't want to get a technical argument, said Arson in the Globe story. All we had to do was defend a very difficult shot. First thing first, while Sink the technical foul shot to give Boston a 112-110 lead. The Boston fans were crazy, but they were some of the most knowledgeable fans, Adam said. I never heard anybody say anything stupid about the game there. They may have said something abusive, but they never said anything stupid. People had been drinking. People were crowded around the court. I remember it being crazy. When they put the 1 second back on the clock, we of course didn't have tenths of a second on the clock back then. So when there was a 1.1 put back up there, you're thinking, is that 1.9 or is it 1? You know, in Boston, as soon as the opportunity inbounds the ball, the guy is going to push the buzzer. It's going to go off. It's going to go off. You can feel the tension. You can feel the tension in the garden start picking up, said Hurd in awesome innings. We had a two-option play. You had a two-option play, said McLeod in the same video. One was designed for Professor Westphal down the corner, and the other option for Curtis Perry to throw the ball into Garfield. Hurd up at the top of the key. From mid corner right, Perry inbounded the ball to Hurd, that's beyond the top right of the circle. That's back to the basket. Hurd turned to his left, and with Nelson guarding him, lifted a high arching rainbow shot into the air as the clock ran out. The ball fell through the basket, tying the score 112-112, forcing the third overtime was incredible. The first option was Westfall because he was outscored. Herb said, I knew I was the second option. I played for John in college. I made a couple of shots for him in college. We figured that Westfall was going to be covered. Don Nelson was on me. He was not a shot blocker, so I knew I could get the shot off if I got the ball. Curtis couldn't get the ball to Westfall, but he found he at the top of the key. Ended up making the shot. That rainbow shot was my shot. I knew I could get it up in the air. That's the type of shot you dream about making as a kid when you're just shooting around by yourself. About making. That's the type of shot you dream about making. Here, when you're just shooting around by yourself, you say, this is for the championship. And I had the opportunity to take that shot, and luckily it went in. When the shot went in, I never thought about it going down as one of the most memorable shots in NBA history. That time we had a chance to win the game, I really thought we were going to win the game after that shot. There wasn't a soul in the United States who didn't figure the ball was going to go to Westfall, said Perry. And if he was covered, guard was going to blast to the top of the key. So when I got the ball down, Nelson trailed guard up to the top of the key. because he figured it was going to Westfall. Westfall was covered, and they were ready for that pass. So guard spoke to the top of the key to draw the defense out. Nelson trailed him up there behind him, had a clear path for a pass. I was able to give guard a good pass. When the ball went in the net, I knew we were going to beat them then. We got him. We got him now. Hurry caught it, turned and shot. I got a hand up, but he really had an arc on that shot. Nelson called in the goal. Said her in the same arc. I never thought I have the chance in Boston Garden with all those leprechauns. Moon Rock, that's what I called it. Called it. Said Ricky Stokes in the globe. I'm seeing him all the time that it was the only shot he made all year. Also in the globe, Perry called it Gar's Aurora Morales shot. God, it was fabulous to knock that thing down, said Autry. Talk about clutch play for a guy who wasn't a great shooter. It was unbelievable. What I screamed it was. It's up and good. And I have to tell you, somebody up there must be on our side. I went, wow, give me a break. Hudson remember. Donis was like they were hurt. He was going to foul him. He had his hands up. He challenged the shot. It was a catch, turn and shoot. And he went in. It wasn't an easy shot, but he did it. Those are the situations where you just take your hat off to the guy and you say, nice job. According to Cersei, there was nothing to say. He said that everybody was just stunned. That Heisen basically said, yeah, just to buckle up. That shot is engraved in everyone's mind. Rico said in the globe. Jim Ord thought the game was over and the Celtics had lost. I forgot about JoJo hitting the technical free throw. He said, then Paul Side said to me, wait, hold on. That only tied the game. It was just one of those situations where all the air goes out right then because now you know this is going to a third overtime. Then you have to just prepare your mind for a third overtime. In respect, because of the nature of that game, you probably should have expected that shot to go in. So that game had already established itself for so many interesting, intriguing ways. When her shot went in, I probably said blank on two levels. On one, I'm obviously one was winning. Two, oh, get going here. We writers were worried about our deadlines. The game ended at 12:08 a.m. The biggest deadline was somewhere around 11:30, so we missed that one. It was only going to be a case of getting it into the final edition. When it happened, you almost felt like this was destiny, Colangelo said. But I also knew that we had given up a lot of energy. It's coming back. We had to come back from way back. So going into that third overtime, you may have felt you were confident, but you were also exhausted. When Gar hit that shot, we were all excited, thinking we got a chance to win this thing, Wessel declared. We thought that fate was on our side. We felt really good about it. Going into that third overtime, we thought we were going to have a chance to pull off an upset. Added Bianchi. Even with Alvin on the bench, I thought we'd be able to win the game. Right, so that's it. My time is up. I'll stop right here. I'll be in chapter 10 tomorrow of June 4th, 1976. It's the 50th anniversary, which will be next month, of this classic game, the greatest game ever played between Phoenix Suns, Boston Celtics, Game 5 of the NBA Finals. Being chapter 10, it's not over till it's over. So I read chapter 9, chapter 8, and chapter 7. 3 chapters. And I'll be reading chapter 10 and the other chapters tomorrow. So I thank for people that have tuned in today. I'll be back for another live feed at 12:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Do my Bible study. We're doing a new study from the Freedom of Christ Study Bible. Stay tuned for that. Later on, I'll be doing another live feed at 6 o'clock. Talking about college football. Was the 1985 to 1987 Miami Hurricanes secondary the greatest ever? The Bean and the Jets. Benny Blaze, Topper Bain, Darrell Fullerton, Donald Ellis, Selwyn Brown. And was that the greatest, secondary ever in college football history? So I'm going to get into that. Talk about that. So, off to the left kind of topic. While being that later on today. So thanks for those who like the button, the 5 people that like the video. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. Hopefully, I'm looking forward to see who subscribed. Really appreciate it if that's the case. Get the numbers up. And like I said, this channel is going to grow and grow by leaps and bounds. And I'm looking forward to it. So that concludes this live feed. I'll be back at 12:30 for the Freedom of Christ Study Bible study. Until then, talk to you at 12:30.